Good morning, this is Faith at Faith and Books. It's so muggy outside already, even though it's just after 7 in the morning on a Sunday, that I just couldn't sit out there. It was too unpleasant. So I think it's going to be a real killer of a day. But anyway, I'm doing my review of this book, Compassion and Conviction, the AND Campaign's Guide to Faithful Civic Engagement. And it's actually getting officially released on the 21st. So today's the 19th. So in 2 days, I got an advance copy, and I'm in a Facebook group that's discussing this book. Discussing this book. And this video is gonna have a lot of Christian content because this is a book written by Christians for Christians, and in fact, it's set up as a book you would use in a Bible study type situation or in a Christian book club. It's set up like that. So every chapter at the end of the book, there are discussion questions about that particular topic. So I just finished reading this book last night, and I mean, these are my people. I really am inspired by it and galvanized by it. And I actually attended you don't have to join the group. This is this is a standalone guide to help Christians navigate through our political world right now. But it comes out of this group called the AND Campaign, which is a Christian group that is nonpartisan. You can be Republican or Democrat or independent or, any other party. But it's just a guide to figuring out how to remain true to your Christian principles while participating in one of these parties, while participating in the public square, as it is now, currently, when it's so contentious. So it's full of biblical references, and it's full of good common sense advice. It's very honest, very straightforward, very inspiring. It's quite profound, even though it's quite easy to read. And they're appealing. I mean, one of the things I found appealing about it was this quote. It says, "Have you ever felt too progressive for conservatives, but too conservative for progressives?" And I've been alienated from either political party because neither one reflects what I believe, what I think will contribute to the common good. They're both deeply flawed, and so I never fit in. When I'm with conservatives, they think I'm really liberal. When I'm with liberals, they think I'm really conservative. I just don't fit in. But apparently there's a lot of people who feel that way, and so I just feel like this is a treasure that will really help us think clearly, especially as the election approaches, and we're in such a crazy time right now. First of all, we were already in a crazy time, and then other things happen like the coronavirus and the George Floyd death at the hands of the police. So, and all that's followed after that. So the three guys who wrote the book, there's three of them here. This is the guy, Justin Gibney, who I've been following on Facebook for a couple of years now. He does these civic updates. He is an attorney from Atlanta, and he's also a political strategist, so he works on local elections, mostly, and maybe some national. But he is so good at explaining where we should stand. He's really got a gift for just calling it like it is, but never ever, he always puts Christ first. He always puts Christ first, but he's very practical. He's very clear-sighted, and I really love his insight, so I'm a real fan of his. This guy, I'm not as familiar with, but apparently he worked for the Obama administration. He wrote a book called Reclaiming Hope, Lessons Learned in the Obama White House About the Future of Faith in America. And he actually lives in my area. So I'm interested in learning more about him. And then this last guy, I'm not that familiar with him at all, though I did see, sorry, I got a frog in my throat. I did see an interview with him. He is a pastor in Chicago, so I think he's dealing with a lot of inner city violence and that sort of thing. So he's sort of, really in the thick of things. And so they co-wrote the book together. So, and I think I was starting to say this, I just officially joined the AND campaign. Actually, I think I have to pay membership dues or something. But they have local chapters that are springing up, and there's one in my area, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And I just attended a Google Hangouts meeting for the first time. I was really shy. About a year ago, I contacted them by email, and I never got involved. I'm so slow to warm up to things. I'm really super cautious, but I cited. So I was on their email list, so I would get notices, and I never took them up on anything. But I did this time, and it was so heartening. It was so wonderful to talk to like-minded people who know where you're coming from and are having the same questions, just really, really wonderful. So I'm excited to get involved with them on a local level. But like I said, if that's not your shtick, and you don't want to get involved, you can just read the book. You can just use this book in your church, So I'll just give you an example of the different chapter titles. Chapter 1, Christians and Politics. Chapter 2, Church and State. And that's a really good chapter because it explains the relationship between church and state in our country. A lot of people get that wrong. Chapter 3, Compassion and Conviction, the name of the book. So we're supposed to have both. We have our biblical convictions, and that should be our priority. One of the things they say here is it's actually not about winning, right? It's about being faithful, right? And so you get out there and you do the best you can do, and that's going to influence the public square. Even if you wind up losing in the end, you've changed things, right? If we keep our integrity, always, if that's our forefront, our faithfulness to Christ, good will flow, right? And so if you worry too much about winning, and winning what it becomes all about, then the ends justifies the means, and you start betraying your own values. Let's see, and then chapter 4 is partnerships and partisanship. So how do you deal with partnering with other organizations that maybe don't have, like you might agree on one issue, but they have other issues, or their framework is really different from a Christian perspective. And how do you deal with the partisanship that's going on in our country that's so divisive and so full of vitriol and everything? How do you be part of a party but not make that party subsume your own Christian values? Messaging and rhetoric is chapter 5. So how do we get the message out? How do we communicate with others? Chapter 6 is politics and race. What do we do in America? Race is such a terrible problem for us, and we're always reckoning with it. How do we do that as faithful Christians? Chapter 7, Advocacy and Protests. How do you go about advocating as a Christian? How do you go about protesting as a Christian? Chapter 8, Civility and Political Culture. Why it's so important to be civil to one another. That's the basis for us being able to talk to each other in dialogue and negotiate and hear each other. And so we really, really have to restore some level of civility in our political conversation, and it's a real problem. And then they have a closing exhortation, which is quite inspiring. I might read you the very last. And they give all sorts of examples, all sorts of biblical examples of advocacy and protest in this particular chapter. So it's very, very biblically based, which is quite nice. And I'm Catholic, and these people are Baptists, but there was nothing in it that contradicted the Catholic teaching. So it really is for all Christians. Now, I say that, but with a caveat. I think it's for all Christians who are Orthodox, and that they make biblical teaching, they give it primacy over social stuff going on, and also their practice is, I guess the guy yesterday said we're orthodox in orthopraxy, right? So they really are biblical, and they're not loose in interpreting things. So that's why they're kind of like social conservatives, but fiscally more progressive, and that's the way I feel I am. Anyway, they give lots and lots of biblical and historical examples to show you what they mean. It's just so clear. It's really clearly and concisely written. It's very inspiring. Yeah, I really, really think it's wonderful. So I'm at 10 minutes already, so what I'm going to do is wind this up. But what I hope to do is get something started on VOXER. So if anybody wants to do a read-along with this, I would absolutely love to do it with you. And we can get it started on VOXER. I don't know when's a good time for people. I feel like, I don't know, for me, probably the second half of August. It's not a long book, so I think we could just do it for a couple of weeks. Or I was even thinking in October, right before the election. But I also want to, and I'm going to try and get my church to read it too. So I don't know if you are interested in doing a read along with it. It's officially published July 21st, so then you can buy it in hardback. It's going to a great cause. It's worth it. I broke my vow of not buying new books because this is just so important to me. And so I really, really would just absolutely love it if we could get a little group of like-minded people reading and discussing this book. I think it would be such a help to us. So let me know in the comments if you're interested in participating in that. We can work something out. All right, well, have a good day and God bless you. Bye.